to discuss, and I think that we have I have a friend, my friend Sabelo Mthembu. He is a composer, conductor as well, and is the one who is going to facilitate this topic. He's going to share it with us. So I would like to welcome you, Mr. Sabelo Mthembu. And also he's a teacher of Kuava Choir, all the way from South Africa. And I'm so humble, and I really appreciate for you to be here with us. I'd like to welcome you. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Stephen, for that welcome. Thank you for inviting me. The one that I know of Jambo. Okay. Anyway, so okay. So yeah, the name of our choir is called
Sabelo, sorry. So it seems we don't get you clearly. The sound of your device, I think we can put it now.
Okay.
We cannot get you clearly. Please, can you just make it clear? Yeah, the sound. The voice doesn't come so clear.
Can you hear me now?
Guys, can you get him?
Can you hear me?
We get him, but additionally, Clinton, I think there's a number of people who are not muted. Perhaps if they mute, it can be better.
Okay. Guys, let us mute our mic before. Please, just mute your mic so that we can hear each other very clearly. Please. Can you mute your mic? Let us mute our mics, please. You can turn them on once you want to contribute something or you want to say something, please. Techno F1, please. Sit Magesta, I think. Okay. Techno F1, please. Can you mute your mic? Let me do one thing. Please. Sorry, Sabelo. Let me mute this case. Okay. We are ready to go. We can start from there.
Awesome. I think let me start again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my video off so that because it keeps a lot of bandwidth, so maybe it might the sound quality. So I'm going to switch it off now. Okay, so that you can still hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Awesome. I was saying the only word that I know is that how you greet. Is that correct? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. What you used is correct. Jambo means hello.
Yes. So to everyone who has joined here, welcome and thank you for having me. The name of my choir is actually Vocal. I know a lot of people, when they look at the spelling, they see Quava, which makes sense. But the name comes from a note, the name of a note. So it's an eighth note. It's called Quava. And this note that is what do you call it? When we start, and yeah, we are a non-denominational choir. So meaning we we have everyone from everywhere come to us, Christian and non-Christian, but our community are founded on Christian principles. We believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and we follow the principles of Christianity in everything that we do. We were established in 2009. Can you hear me? Apparently, I'm breaking a lot. Can you hear me?
That's a bit better
We're
now.
still finding it difficult to hear you, Mr. Sabelo.
Okay. Just give me 1 minute or 30 seconds. See if I can bring it. How is the sound now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. Better. Okay. Cool. So I was saying that our choir is it's a non-denominational choir. We have everyone from everywhere who joins our choir. However, we are our choir is founded on Christian principles. So it is in everything that we do. The principles of Christianity drive us. So yeah, we were established in 2009 August. Last year we celebrated 10 years of our existence. We had a huge 10th anniversary concert here in Johannesburg. Yeah, we're a choir that has humble beginnings, and we just looking forward to the future and the possibilities, that await us as a choir, also as individuals as well. So yeah. So when Clinton suggested a couple of topics, one that stood out for me was the one that we're speaking about today, which is how to get your choir or your group of singers to sing at their best. But that's a very broad subject. So I think what we'll do is we'll tackle it. Maziki, welcome. So we'll tackle it together. I'm very passionate about singers. Very passionate about people. Mainly because music is an emotional sport, for lack of a better word. It's an emotional activity more than just a technical one. You first have to understand the emotional side of music. Because if I ask anyone right now, and if you're happy to answer, you can be more than welcome to do that. But the first question that you need to ask yourself when it comes to music is, why do you do music? Is it because you like it? Does it give you a sense of voice? I mean, there are many reasons that we do. So I don't know from any of you who would like to answer that question. Why do you do music? Why music? Why aren't you playing soccer? Why are you here today? Why aren't you watching a game of cricket or rugby? What is it about music for you? Anyone? Did you get my question?
Can you kindly repeat it again, please?
Okay. So I was saying, music is an emotional activity. When we think about music, we always have to think about why we do music. So I just wanted to understand from anyone in this forum, what is it about music that makes you do music? I don't know if that question was clear. Why music? Why do you do music?
Okay, I think I heard you properly. Let me try to answer.
Okay.
I'll try to comment in a spiritual view, in a spiritual look, or in a spiritual manner. To my side, music to me, it directly takes me to heaven above. It makes me feel that relevance that is conducted back in heaven and what we do here back on earth, there's a kind of connectivity. You see, music is all about worship. I hope you know. Music is all about worship, and in short, what I can say, it makes me feel closer to my heavenly creator. It makes me feel that I'm a child of the King. Music makes me feel that I'm born again in Christ. So that's my point of view why I love music.
Okay, that's a really beautiful answer. So what I'll do now is I'll exit the meeting just so that I can maybe find a better spot where I can be heard much better. Because apparently my network is not that great. But funny enough, I can hear you guys. So yeah. Okay, so give me about 2 minutes. Let me just relocate, and then we'll take it from there. All right.
That's what will be better. Jamani, tuvumiliane tu kidogo, network yake inaonekana sio nzuri. Najaribu kuweka naye sawa kidogo, so nadhani mambo yatakaa vizuri. Wanaendelea kujoin, tuvumiliane kidogo wakati anaweka mambo. Someone mic. Please let us mute our mic. Let us mute our mics. Jamani, karibuni mnaoendelea kujoin, karibuni sana. Tumeshaanza kidogo, lakini hatuko mbali, lakini tuna changamoto ya network ambayo inashughulikiwa ndani ya dakika 1 au 2 zitakuwa tayari, atarudi tena. Naomba tu wavumilivu kidogo, network upande wake naona sio nzuri sana kama kwetu sisi. Tuvumilie kidogo wakati anaweka mambo sawa. Tuvumiliane kidogo. Nadhani kwa wakati huu tunaweza tukaendelea kudiscuss, maana tumeulizwa swali. Si ndio? Tunaweza tukaendelea kudiscuss tuone sisi tunaelewaje music katika mtazamo wetu sisi. Karibuni kwa maoni pia, karibuni.
Hebu ngoja nimuulize Jordan. Jordan alitoka kusema sasa hivi one of the things that he said is that all music is spiritual. If I heard him correctly. And I'm just wondering, is that really true? Is it true that all music is spiritual? Don't we have, for lack of a better word, worldly music? that when you listen to it, it doesn't really bring you closer to God. So I don't know. I'll name left by Jordan. Maybe he can clear that up for me.
Naomba kujibu.
Karibu.
Alright. Nilichangia katika mtazamo wa kiroho. Ndio maana nikasema from the spiritual point of view. Wanavyoelewa mimi swala la muziki.
Mr. Sabelo?
I really hope this is better now.
Right now, this is much better, and I think you can even turn on your video so that we can see each other. It's better.
Yeah, but now the problem is that I'm outside. That's why.
Oh,
And,
okay.
yeah, so it's dark. You won't see much of me.
Okay.
Yeah, but let me see. Let me try this. Just one moment. Okay, let's see. Try the video.
Okay.
Can you see me now?
Yeah. Now we can see you.
Okay, cool.
Mm.
So yeah, I like the answer that my brother gave. I didn't get his name, definitely. But that's, I think when you look at the Bible, you know, and you study it, you realize that there's nothing that moves God than a powerful sound of praise. Whether it's spoken, whether it's a lived praise, and most importantly, a praise through music. So the big why is important, because sometimes we do music for the wrong reason, right? I'll keep asking if you can still hear me. So the big why will dictate the kind of music that you choose, right? And then, I mean, there are different whys. Some reasons to your why may not even be spiritual. You know? They could be political. You could be singing to give black people a voice in these difficult times. You could be singing to unite different people of different colors and backgrounds. And that was our big why as Flavor Vocal. We want to provide healing through music to everyone, because we understand that music has the power to heal, and we know that people and everyone go through challenges. Now let's turn on our video so that we can all see each other. Right. So the big why is important, and it also dictates the kind of singers that you bring into your fold. I think Infinix, your what's this? Your mic is on. I think it's Infinix. Infinix Hot 7, Yula. All right, much better. Yeah. So that's point number one. Go back after this session and really ask yourself, like, go deeper into that question and why. The big why is very important in music, in anything for that matter. That will also help you if you understand your big why, you will be able to stick it on when times get hard, especially in music. Whether it's Christian music, whether it's popular music, music is a tough business to be in. You know, especially from a worship point of view. Imagine you just had a terrible day, right? You had the most difficult day, your children or whatever, or whoever gave you a tough time, or your family, and now you must stand on stage and praise and lead people to worship in worship. You know, so it's a difficult space to be in, because now it affects your emotions. But when you understand the why and why you do it, then it becomes easier. I think someone's mic is on. Eh? I'm not sure. Is it you?
Yeah, it's me. It's me. Let me turn it off.
Okay. Much better, yeah. Infinix, can you also mute yours if you can? All right. So as I was saying, point number one, the big why dictates the kind of music that you select as a group. I'm very careful when it comes to the kind of music that we sing. We don't just sing songs because they sound good. We also check if it meets our goal, you know, in terms of what it is that we want to achieve as a choir. So that's very important. And then point number two, as a conductor, it's important, and I'm going to combine these points actually. It's point number 2 and 3. It's important to develop a good relationship with your singers, right? Know them beyond choir. Obviously not to get involved in their personal affairs and all those things. But it's important, especially because music is such an emotional activity. You want to make sure that you understand your singers from a personal space. You need to know things like, you need to know who they are married to, whether or not they are in a relationship, you know, those finer details. Obviously, you're not going to be the judge and like, oh, don't date so and so. But, you know, just to know those things. Know what they are studying, what they are doing, you know, so that you can be able to ask questions like, how was that project that you were working on the other day? Did you finish it? You know, so when you have that relationship, singers feel that you actually care. And the reason I'm saying that is because music is a tough commitment. I know for a fact that in my choir, for example, there's a very strong demand or need for people to practice when they are at home, or to commit and to attend rehearsals, to know their music and all those things. But you cannot get them to do that when you haven't tapped into their emotions, when they don't feel connected with you, because it's almost like a spider web. There's a connection between the singers. There's a connection that goes from the conductor to the singers. And as a result, that connection will be reflected in the music. And you can see easily a choir that loves each other versus a choir that knows the notes. Now, I just need to get my charger. My battery is going. So, just one moment. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I was on the point of knowing your singers and connecting with them emotionally. If you connect with your people emotionally, you can get the best out of them. It's like a team sport. If the coach doesn't know his players, he doesn't know their strengths and their weaknesses. And as a result, it becomes difficult to get something or anything for that matter out of them. You end up having choristers who are demotivated, even when they struggle with songs or anything like that. They can't even come to you and speak to you because they find it difficult to approach you. So you have to develop that personal relationship, know your singers, and also allow the singers to know each other, because it doesn't help when you are the conductor and you know everyone, but the choristers don't know each other, right? So you're basically a family. And as I was saying earlier, it's easy to see a choir. You can tell the difference between a choir that loves being with each other, a group of singers that love being together. And you can see the difference between them and a choir that just knows the music. And not to say that one is more important than the other, but based on your big why. For example, with us as Quaver, our big why is about healing people. But that healing has to start with us. If we are able to connect, then we can connect with the audience. I hope my network is much better now. Is it much better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. It's better. Okay, cool. All right. So, any questions so far before I move on to the next point? So we've touched on the big why, and then we've touched on the emotional aspect, getting to know, developing a relationship with your choristers, with your singers, and then developing a relationship with each other. Okay, cool. Now, the next one, as a leader of the group, you also need to be able to meet your singers where they are, meaning technically where they are. Not everyone has the experience of singing in a choir. You know, some people get into a choir or group and it's their first time singing in a group. So there's a lot of things that they need to understand. They need to understand harmony, what basic harmony is. Some people generally are talented at that. They know harmony. They have to understand the dynamics of being in a team, you know. For example, when you are in a team, it's not about you, right? So you need to teach them all those things, because to build a good singer, you need to start right at the bottom. And also to the singers, when you come into a group, don't come in thinking that you know everything as well. Come in with an open heart, a godly spirit, where you come in to learn, and also to contribute. Don't come into a choir or a group space and say you want to shine. It's not about you. It's never about you. It's about the team. Okay, so that's very important. Conductors, meet your choristers where they are. Get them from the basics. Work with them. Walk the journey with them, right? And that's why these two are together, developing a relationship with them and then walking that journey with them. Then the next thing that you need to do, and these things, by the way, I haven't even gotten to the technical side of this whole discussion. I'm still on the emotional side, because that's the biggest part. Because sometimes you get good singers that sing very well, but they can't sing together and they can't make music together. Okay, so the emotional aspect is important. Then I think the last one, from an emotional point of view, firstly, make your singers love the music. How do you do that? You first, you bring them to your world. You expose them to the music that you listen to as a conductor, because you don't want to be this guy as a conductor who listens to this amazing music, and then when you come to choir rehearsals, You want to implement these amazing things that you heard from the other choirs, but your people don't understand what you're talking about. So if you are able to be in sync, you share the same values, you share the same love for the same style, because it doesn't help if I want to be in a gospel choir, but I love hip hop and I don't listen to gospel. It's obviously going to be a problem, because then I won't understand what gospel music means. It's not just about fame or shining and all of that. It's about the glory of God and how it's not even about us, it's about God. So all those things, they come into play. So expose your choristers to the music that you are doing. And you can do that by having them listen to other choirs. So normally what I do with my choir is that I share music, like choral music. So we do classical music. I share classical music that I think is really beautiful, and the music that I think is in line with how I want the choir to sound. So if you're a gospel choir, for example, and you want your choir to have a sound like, I don't know, the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir, for example, your singers need to know that, because as you explain, then they get a picture. So they tap into your mind and your spirit and where you are. All right. So those are the main points when it comes to the emotional aspect. Any questions so far before we get to the technical? Any question or comment? Can you comment? Hmm?
Someone was saying something. Anyone want to contribute? Anyone want to ask anything? I think there's none. We can proceed.
Okay, cool. Right, and then the technical aspect, and I'm going to write this as, can I ask a question? Are you guys a particular group of singers, or are you from different choirs? Do you come from different groups, different styles of music, or are you mostly Christian music? Do you hear that question? Let me ask again.
Okay, Sabelo, I've heard that question, but most of us here, we are coming from different groups, but we are doing gospel music. But also in the gospel music, we have different styles of doing that gospel.
Okay, different styles. Okay, cool. If I use the stuff that you send to me, like the YouTube videos, it's mostly, I can agree that it's mostly a cappella, right? Mostly a cappella.
Yeah.
So your instrument with your voice. Okay, great stuff. And I love a cappella music, because that's where you get to discover the power of the human voice and the ability and the things that it can do. So that's always a great thing. So when it comes to the technical aspect of getting your choir to sound good, there's a system that I use, which I have abbreviated as ITD. So I for India, T for Thomas, and D for donkey, right? ITD. The I stands for intonation, right? Now, the word intonation can basically, okay, I'll come back to the word intonation. And then the second word, the T, the second letter T, stands for tone, right? And then the D stands for dynamics. Now, these three aspects make up a good performance or a good singer, right? So with intonation, the word intonation can be broken into two. So you've got the in and then tonation, which comes from the word tonal, tonality. It basically means that when you sing, like when you sing a line, each note has its own tonality, meaning the way that it can be heard or where it sits in the scale. So you've got the major scale, you've got the chromatic scale, you've got all those technical aspects, right? So if I have to sing la 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 la, I've just sung a major, right? La 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 la. Each note has its place tonally in that scale, all those 5 notes, right? So the word intonation means that each note needs to be in the correct tonality. If I sing it again, la, 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 la. Now I'm going to sing it again. I want you to tell me whether I'm singing it flat or sharp. So singing flat is obviously where you sing just below where the note should be, right? I'm gonna sing the last. Just listen to the last note, né? And then you'll tell me if it's flat or sharp. And then sharp is if it's slightly above where it should be. So listen to it, and then you'll tell me. La 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 la. Was the last note sharp or flat? How did it sound?
Flat.
Eh?
Flat.
Flat, flat, né? Right. So there's a lot of techniques as well that we're going to discuss on how to achieve good intonation, right? So the ability to hear is also very important. That I have gone flat now. If I sing la 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 la, if we do the diatonic scale, which is do re mi fa sol la ti do, the notes that are most likely to go flat, depending on where you're going. Okay, so when you're coming down, when you're going down the scale, the notes that are likely to go flat is the 7th note, do, ti, because it's got a difference of a semitone, right? So it's half a step. So a lot of people will sing da da instead of da da, right? Same thing with do ti la so fa mi. So it's the T and the mi. Da, 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 da. Some people go flat on that mi, right? And good choirs also make that mistake where they go really flat. We've made that mistake on a very long song, and we realized that we kept going flat. There's a song called "There Is a Balm in Gilead." There is a balm. So if you listen to it, you'll see that it goes from the 4th note to the 3rd, 4th, 3rd, right? And the 3rd note kept going flat because that's just how it's structured, especially when you go down to it. Okay, so there are different techniques. How do you improve intonation? For you not to go flat, you have to sing bright. So for example, if I sing, there is a balm, to sing bright is to sing a little bit with a smile, right? There is a balm, right? That's you brighten your vowels, right? So how you pronounce your vowels, how you create your vowels also affect intonation, right? So for you not to go flat, sing brighter. And then for you not to go sharp, sing a little darker, right? Because some people usually use a screeching tone to try and get those high notes, especially gospel singers. They use that mahalia, you know, that type of voice, so it can easily go sharp. But you have to be careful. You sort of bring it back by darkening your tone, So there are different techniques. I mean, we could spend eternity going through those. So that's the first thing that a choir needs to focus on: intonation. Because you can have the loveliest voices, you can have the most beautiful tone, but if you sing flat, if you constantly sing flat and you constantly sing sharp, then you're as good as non-existent as a choir, right? Then once you've got intonation, now you move on to tone. Now here's the problem: there are many choirs, especially in the Western world, so like classical choirs mostly, you find that they have a very good intonation, so they can sing those notes. They don't go sharp and they don't go flat, but they just have a horrible tone. Most of them, some choirs you'll hear, they'll sing from their nose. They have a nasal tone. Instead of singing, there is a bomb, they sing, there is a bomb, right? That's a bad tone, right? So you have to mold your tone a little. There is a bomb. And there's a lot of techniques, again, that we can use. So again, here I use colors with my choir. I use a system of colors to achieve the right tone. So we will go through the vowels. For example, we know that when you sing, the vowel A needs to be a little darker, depending on what the word is. So for example, if I sing, there is a balm, balm is B-A-L-M, right? So you have to understand the language for you to produce the right tone. You can't sing it as, there is a ba, right? It needs to be a darker sound, balm, right? So ah is normally ah, not ah. And then a, I don't know how the vowels are structured in Swahili, but we say, in Zulu, we say a, e, o, u. So a is darker, right? And then a is a little bit with a smile. There, instead of the, right? There, it's a little brighter. And then e as well is bright. A, e. And then o is dark as well. O, and then u. So the three vowels that are dark are a, o, and u. Although a can also be bright at times, depending on the song itself and the word, right? And then the bright sounds are e and e. Okay, so that helps with like tone color, right? It helps a lot with tone color. And I mean, there are also other techniques that you can use. So I believe that the tone can be produced from different repositories, right? A repository is basically where your sound comes from, or where it lives, or where it's stored, right? So in jazz music, for example, we use the chest voice. Let me think of a jazz song. Fever. Never know how much I love you. Never know how much I care. When you lift it up around me, I get a fever that's so hard to bear. If you touch your chest, you can hear your chest vibrate when you sing that. But if I use the same song and sing it with a classical tone, it doesn't sound the same. And the classical tone is found in your diaphragm, so somewhere around your tummy. Where you da 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 dee da 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 dee da dee da da da. That tone is right for classical music, but it doesn't work in jazz. So jazz and gospel music. Gospel music, I mean, the nice thing about gospel music is that also it depends on what type of gospel, because gospel music is so wide as well. So gospel music, you use different sounds. You use your chest, and then you use your mixed register, so which is a combination of your chest and your head voice, which I'll come to. So I think someone just joined us. So then the head voice is what we call the falsetto, right? So the falsetto is basically where you sing. It's difficult to explain the falsetto, but it's basically, if you're a guy, you sing like a girl, with the tone of a girl, if that makes sense. So you can hear, just listen to what I'm going to do now. And I don't know if it's going to be clear, but you'll hear when I move from the chest to the head, right? Let me think of a song. I love the Lord. He heard my cry. I don't know what the next line is. Da dee dee da. So now I've moved to my head voice. Da dee da da. Back to my chest. So a combination of those two. You need to be able to switch back and forth, right? And when we're in a group setting, if everyone goes to the chest, everyone must go to the chest. If everyone is in the head voice, everyone must go to the head voice. Right. Any questions so far before I move on to the last one? All right.
Okay, there's a question here. There's a Fazan Malis. Please welcome Fazan Malis.
Yo, I thank you for the conversation and or everything what's happening. But I'm in a position whereby I can't open my video.
It's okay. You can proceed.
You will allow me to ask the question.
Yeah, you are
Sure,
allowed.
I can hear you. Yeah.
My question is, can we make in our group a musical style whereby all of us we can sing in falsetto from the soprano to the bass? Can it happen? Then if it can happen, how can we make it?
Probably not at the same time, but so mainly because the male voice has a different range to a female voice, right? But if you have a song, like a jazz song, for example, that goes really high for both male and female, then you can achieve a setup where you both male and female sing in your falsetto. But generally there isn't a song, because if it's a chest voice, if it's comfortable for the chest for the females, it's normally very high for the guys. So the guys would have to sing it on a falsetto voice in order to be able to meet the girls. I don't know if that makes sense. So, I mean, we have a song that we sing, it's a jazz song. At the end, it says, don't get her out much anymore. Don't get her out much anymore. So based on that line alone, I can sing it in falsetto. Sorry, in the chest voice. But then the girls sing, don't get her out. Some of the girls, if they're soprano, they can sing it in full chest voice. But then you have like the altos, like the deeper altos. That would be too high for them, right? And I think then they would have to sing it in falsetto. So the trick there in a choir setting is to use each other's strengths, right? So where you have a song that goes really high, don't expect the basses to be the ones doing those high notes. Let the tenors do those high notes, right? And then the basses can support with the falsetto sound, for example. And then the same thing with the sopranos. The sopranos can go really high, right? Then the altos can sort of support. So you just need to play it based on the strengths of your choristers. Does that answer your question?
Okay, yeah, at least I got something. But I was asking if we can make in our choir, we sing from the beginning of the song, from first stanza to the chorus to the second stanza. All of us we are singing falsetto.
Yeah, I suppose you can. It depends on the song and the pitch as well of that song. Does it? Yeah. Because I mean, if I have to sing the national anthem, for example, I think our national anthem is in key of F. I don't know where F is. Nkosi sigaleli Africa. Right? If you change the pitch, an octave higher for everyone, then you'll sing it in falsetto. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? All right, cool. I'll move on. Then there's the last letter is D. Now, I don't know if you probably do know this, choir. D stands for dynamics. Dynamics, I mean, most people define dynamics as loud and soft, singing loud and soft, but it's more than that. For me, it's basically where you do the last thing after you've achieved in good intonation and good tone. Now you sort of beautify the song. So there you add things like getting louder in certain sections. If you have one note that goes for, say, a whole bar, then you put a bit of a crescendo there. You rise with it, where you sing softer in certain sections based on the words, right, and the emotion in that space. So I don't know if you know a choir called the Aeolians of Oakwood University Choir. You should know it. If you don't know,
We know it.
then yeah. Yeah, if you don't know it, then you're not SDA. So that choir is one of the best choirs in the world, right? Like, they are the epitome of all these three things. They've got brilliant intonation, they've got a beautiful tone, they all sound like one, and they are very big on dynamics. So their songs are not just like straight all the way. They've got crescendos, and then they've got attackers, and then they've got diminuendos. So there's a lot that's happening. And because of that, you can connect with the emotions of the song. So dynamics, and there's one that I actually left out, but I'll add it as an extra. So dynamics are important, very important, to bring out the emotion of the song. So that's the performance aspect of the song. Because if you focus too much on the notes, and you focus too much on the words and the tone, and then you forget the dynamics, you don't bring the music to life. Dynamics bring the music to life. And I always say that a song has a life cycle. I mean, there are songs, so a life cycle, but obviously there are exceptions depending on the song. But a song generally has a life cycle where it's got an intro, right? And then it's got a build up, and then it has the climax point, and then it has the decline, where it gets softer. So sometimes people just want to start the song with too much power and not allow the song to build, to build, to build, to build, and then have the climax, right? Where everyone is in one voice and the emotions are stirred up. And then you settle it, you sort of settle the song at the end as a form of a conclusion. So those are some of the things that you need to be aware of when you sing a song. Study the song. Who is your who how many leaders do we have in this group? How many leaders, more or less? How many group leaders
Leaders of
do we
choirs.
have
Sir.
of choirs here?
Okay, we have Bernard Chikoloa, Bernard Chico, Ben Chico. We have I myself. We have Emmanuel Tangale and James. Yeah,
Okay.
and those are the people that I know. Yeah.
All right, cool. So this one is for you, leaders. When you do a song, whether it's a song that you're writing in your group or it's a song that you're taking from another choir or it's a song that you're learning from sheet music, go and do background study, right? Study the background of whoever wrote that song. Because I mean, when you study the story of the person who wrote, I forgot his name, but he wrote "It Is Well with My Soul." If you know his name, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting. I mean, that song is so popular. It is well with my soul, with my soul. So I mean, the story is quite deep because when that person wrote that song, they had just lost their daughter. And this is just after they had lost their wife. So now you can imagine what kind of space that person was in when they wrote that song. So you need to go and do background study so that you can get in touch with the lyrics of the song and be able to understand it. And that's where you will be able to apply this issue of dynamics. Then the last point before I open the floor for comments and questions is articulation. Articulation is to be clear, right? So when you, there's so many things that I can talk about. Articulation is where you sing with clarity, whatever you're saying. Because at the end of the day, yes, you are doing music, but you are conveying a message more than anything as a choir, right? If you say, "It is well with my soul," right? You should be able to, as a listener, I should be able to hear soul and not with my soul, because then that's soul. So it is well with my soul. That message doesn't make sense, right? So all those things, we call that articulation. So it's very important to focus on that. When you combine all these things, you come up with a brilliant sound, a world-class sound. So it's intonation, good tone, a choir that blends very well, because the tone also allows you to sound like one. So then you sound like one person. You don't stick out. I don't hear Clinton or Sam or James. You know, I just when I listen to you, then I just hear one thing, right? And then the dynamics just bring out the emotion, and then the articulation are there for the words. Articulation is there for the words. Yeah. So as we come to a close on this topic, always, just to recap, just always remember that your singers are people, right? They are not guitars. That when they are out of tune, you can just buy another string. Sometimes people don't perform at their best because of what they are going through or what they are feeling, right? So it's important to know your choristers and meet them where they are. You are not, as a leader, it's not your choir for you to shine. Yes, the glory will come to you as a reward, but more than anything, this is a choir is a team. You know, when you do well, like it's for everyone. You know, so yeah, I think that's I've covered most of the things that I wanted to talk about today. I don't know if I've left out anything, or is there any burning question that you guys have that you'd like me to answer? And by the way, we'd love to come to Tanzania in the near future.
Okay.
We'd love to tour East Africa and West Africa. We'd love to go to Ghana. Ghana has a really good choir culture as well there. So we'd love to go there. And Kenya as well. We'd love to go there. So hopefully we'll be there soon in the very near future.
Don't worry about that. I hope everything will be well. Anyway, thank you for the nice presentation. And
Cool.
actually, I've gained a lot from that. And there's some stuff I thought maybe I knew them, but actually I wasn't able to apply them. But for this presentation, I think I've had something on my library. I think it has already had, uh, it will help my music to add a little bit of value. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for that presentations. And also, anyone who have a question, please. I think you can you do a little bit a review a little bit, because some others have they have just come here late, so they can at least get that
Hey,
concept that you are trying to present to us. Please, a little bit, a little.
say that again.
Can you
Or like
pass us to the topic, yeah, for the thing that you have, in brief, so that these guys who have already who came here late, so that
okay.
they can catch up with us.
Okay, cool. And the guys that I don't know if the guys that want to leave that are happy, they can do that. They don't have to stay for what they've already heard, right?
Brief them, because there's a Ben Chico Walla. He has come
There's a
here
what?
late, so Ben Chico Walla. He has come in late, so he has joined late. So at least you can just give them a
Like
brief, so
scan
that
through.
while we're winding up, so that they can just catch up with us. At least they can
Okay,
do
cool.
something.
Okay, cool. Welcome to the guys that just arrived now. But basically, obviously, our topic is how to get the best out of your singers or out of your choir. We discussed the fact that music is an emotional activity more than just a technical one. So it's not about the notes and remember the words. You must know this song. It's an emotional activity. There needs to be a connection between the choir and the conductor or the group leader, depending on what your formation is. Because I stand in front when I conduct my choir. There needs to be synergy as well within the choristers. The choristers need to be able to work together, but they cannot work together if they don't know each other from a personal level, right? You can see a choir that sings as a choir that knows each other versus a choir that just knows the music, right? So you can see that. Also, we spoke about the big why. The big why is basically an answer to the question, why do you sing music? Why are you a singer? Why are you in a group? Why are you here? Because some people just come into a group because they think it's gonna help them tour the world or anything or something like that. But there's always a bigger why. So if you can answer that question, you'll be able, whether as a leader or as a group, it will dictate the kind of music that you sing. If your big why is to heal people through song, then you will never select a song or sing a song that talks about killing someone, right? Or a song that has a history of killing or things like that. So there's a helicopter. What else did we speak about? Yeah, and then we also spoke about exposing you have to expose your choristers to the way you want them to sound. If you want your choristers to sing like Take Six, it doesn't help that they only listen to hip hop and Snoop Dogg, right? You need to get into their hearts and make them love the music that they are singing, right? So expose them to good music and good choirs as well, or good groups. And then so that's the emotional aspect. And then we spoke about the technical aspect. So now the technical aspect are the things that you need to do when you're singing. So we spoke about intonation, where we covered what tonality is. Tonality is the actual sound or the placement of a particular note in the scale. Sometimes you can place it just below where it should be. That makes you flat. Sometimes you can place it slightly above where a note should be. That will make you sharp. And when you sing flat and sharp, we say you have bad intonation. When you sing on the key and you stay on the key and on pitch, we say you have good intonation, right? So it's an acronym ITD. So I is for intonation, and then T is for tone. Tone is the actual color and the texture of the voices. Just think of tone as 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 a shirt, right? As a shirt. When you describe a shirt, it has a color. It's a bright color shirt, and then the texture is silk, right? It's smooth. So you can also describe the tone of a choir using that, using colors and texture. Like some people have, like myself, I have they call it a husky texture, so like a John Legend type of texture that's rough. And then you have people who have a smooth tone, like Jill Scott, for example. She's got a smooth tone. It's very bright in her singing. So maybe that's also an exercise that you can do for yourself. Find a singer, whether it's in gospel or jazz or whatever, describe their tone according to the color and the texture. So let's take John Legend. John Legend has a dark velvet tone. So his tone is dark and it's velvety. It's not too rough, like it's just hard. You know? It's like, yeah. So just do that exercise. It will help you. And then we spoke about D for dynamics. Dynamics is the last thing that you need to do. That's where you bring life to the song. Basically there, you are stirring up the emotions of the audience using dynamics where you go loud in certain sections based on what it is that you're singing about. For example, if you take a song like It Is Well With My Soul, firstly, you need to understand when that song was written, by who, what was happening when they wrote that song. So you won't sing it loud all the way. It is well, it is. That's not how you're gonna sing. This person, when they wrote this song, they were going through pain. So you have to use a type of dynamic that presents that pain, you know. Yeah, and then we spoke about articulation. Articulation is where you speak or sing clearly so that those who are listening can hear what you're saying. The T's and the D and the K and the A and all those things need to be heard. So if you say, it is well with my soul, you need to hear that soul. Some people will sing, it is well with my soul, and not soul. So yeah, articulation is very important. And I think that's where we stopped. Yeah. But I'm happy to answer any other questions offline. Via email, via WhatsApp, you can give them my number, Clinton.
Yeah, I
I'm
can
happy
do
to
that.
answer it. I also have a lot of questions for you guys as well. So I'll keep in
Okay.
touch. Yeah.
Let them flow. Okay, you can, guys. Please, if you have any comment, any question, please you can ask. It's the right is the time. It's the right time. Please, you can do so.
Yes, may I ask a question?
Okay.
Yeah.
You forgive me. I usually have my video on, but today I'm in a place where the connection is not that good. That's why I'm without video. But yes, Sabella, thank you for your presentation. And
It's a pleasure.
I had a question when, especially to do with emotion in music, which you talked about at the beginning.
Yeah.
And my question is, should emotion always be reflected in the music and in the singing, or can this vary depending on culture? And I asked that because in countries, speaking from a church perspective now, in countries like South Africa, I know, and like the United States, for example, where you have churches that are um, in the United States, they call them black churches and they call them white churches. Um,
Mm.
the approach to music in those two different types of settings different when it comes to emotion. In the black churches, you know, it's a very outward expression of emotion, and you know the singing is quite different. I think the same may be true in South Africa as well, though you may correct
Yeah.
me. And in the white churches, it is the singing is more stoic and
Mm.
composed. You don't see that
Mm.
kind of emotion there. Um,
Mm.
so now, emotion and culture, is there always a right way? Should emotion always be there, or does it depend on context?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I do think that there are many ways to achieve a certain emotion without without doing anything. For example, you can achieve emotion by speaking with your hands. For example, now let's take it back to speaking, right? Some people achieve emotion. I mean, let's take church pastors, for example. They've got different styles. You have a pastor like T.D. Jakes, right? So he uses his voice and his presence, and he uses his hands and he uses his body to convey a certain um, emotion based on whatever message that he's talking about. And then you have someone who is calm, like Joel Austin. Joel Austin can take the same message and preach it take the same message by what's his name, T.D. Jakes, and preach it, and also achieve the same emotion without having to raise his voice. But like there's a way of applying a certain intensity to what you're saying, right? With the tone of your voice as well. The tone of your voice can, for example, stir up a certain emotion. Have you ever had your father shout at you? And then sometimes he will say, then you know that he's really angry. And then when he speaks soft to you and says, Chris, my son, what you have done is really not right. Which one is heavier? It's the second one, because he's not even doing much, but with the sound of his voice, he has conveyed a certain emotion without having to overdo certain things or shout or yell. So I do believe that it's in how you speak and the clarity of your speaking that you can achieve different emotions. And that's why dynamics are a good thing. Sometimes you can even sing without moving, but just how you move your voice and how you play with the dynamics, you can achieve a very strong emotion. So it's not, I don't know if I'm answering, I hope I'm answering your question correctly. So it's not always about flamboyance, right? So it's not always about charisma, all the time. It's usually a thing of how much do you mean what you're saying? Whether you're saying it loud or whether you're saying it soft, doesn't matter. It's just the tone. That's why you find people saying, don't speak to me in that tone, because the tone is everything more than the actual words and the action. It's the tone. So I hope I answered your question correctly. Was it Chris? Ne?
Yes. It's Chris. Thank you. So if I may just get you to clarify something. Um, if you have a choir or a group, um, should you fashion your singing style to the audience you're going to to sing to, going back to the example of the white church and the black church type of scenario?
Yeah. Yes and no. So sometimes, obviously, you have to read your audience. Okay. So I mean, if you're singing to old white folks, you know, there's how you select your repertoire is important. So obviously you would select the more calm type of sounds when you select your repertoire. But also, there's also the element of surprise. So for example, if your choir gets invited to an international classical or choir competition, say in the UK, and it's mostly attended by like white middle-aged people, and you come in there with something that they did not expect. You come in there with a beautiful African repertoire, well crafted, combine it with jazz. You'll be surprised how something that is new to them can be so well received. So at the end of the day, yes, you have to suss your audience out properly, but also be true to who you are. Don't try to present a picture of a choir that you're not, because you're trying to fit into that certain environment, because that will cause you not to enjoy the performance. So be who you are, obviously within the confines of that environment.
I got you. Thank you.
Cool.
Any other question? Anyone? Chico, do you have any question?
Actually, I don't have any question now. Just grateful for the lecture. I came late, but I just got something from him. And I
Okay.
think what is just said are the things that we have to practice now. We should put it into practice. You know, most of our choirs, especially in Dar es Salaam, the youth choir, you know. So I think we need to do something. We need to change, by the way.
Okay.
That's
you.
all I can say.
So I have
Thank
a
you.
question. So I know obviously that most of you sing inside the church, but what is the choir culture like in Tanzania? Because in South Africa, for example, choirs are a big thing. Even our universities, we've got choirs. Some of the universities, I mean, we have the top university choir in the world, which is Stellenbosch. I don't know if you know them, but just go and check them out. So I was just wondering, what is the choir culture like in Tanzania, especially among young people?
Okay, maybe I would like to say something on that. Um, uh, Here in Tanzania, choirs mostly just for the church services. You
Church.
cannot just, yeah, it's almost for the churches.
Hmm.
So the culture is it's a common, yeah. You find people they just organize themselves. They're having their teacher, their chorist there. They start singing. So uh, at least
Okay.
nowadays there's a big choirs here in Dar es Salaam, but you cannot say they just sing just for they just practicing waiting for the services on Sabbath, then off they go.
Okay.
That's normal culture. I don't see like the choirs that have been singing in South Africa that you have been saying that university top choir top universities choirs. We have them some universities here, but even the choirs are just the normal choir that they just meet on maybe Tuesday, do practices just for Sabbath services.
Okay. Okay.
To add on that, most of the choir in here in Tanzania, they're only focused on ministry.
On
Only ministry.
ministry. Okay.
That's all what they're doing.
So you don't have like
So
choir festival, but within the church,
actually,
do you also within the church, do you also have like festivals
yeah,
with all the church choirs?
yeah, we used to have, but they are not mostly occurred, but it's like only few times. So we normally used to have those stuff, but due to the challenges, always we have challenges because
Mm.
many choirs are coming there to compete, and the aim of the church or mission of the church, music is a tool for the to worship. So
Yeah.
once people are trying to put some a little bit competitions, you see it's kind of diabolic. It's not
Mm.
godly. So
Mm.
that's the only, and that's why most of the groups and choirs are only focusing on ministry. On that's the focus. But nowadays a little bit because there's a huge differences that youth we have already bring in the church. We are not mostly only focusing on doing ministry only, but we are trying to do a little bit something extra. And one of those people or youth in Tanzania who have already put a little bit changes is Chico, is the one who was talking here, is among them.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's all about music in Tanzania. But actually in Tanzania, we don't have a specific music like you guys in South Africa that you can identify this is music of Tanzania. The only thing that you
Mm.
can know about music of Tanzania is language. Once you hear something about Swahili, you can know, oh, these guys are coming from Tanzania. That's all. But
Mm.
we normally have different taste of music, but we
Yeah.
mixed. We can do
Okay.
at the same time. There's a choirs that are doing classic a cappellas, choirs like Magomeni. We have Temeke. Temeke, those are
Mm.
the among the oldest choir have been doing that.
Mm.
They are, so we don't have a specific kind of music that can
Okay.
even introduce us or as an identity to us. So that's the only thing. And also the other thing,
So then how do
anyway,
we?
I don't want to speak more. Naomi, she has already raised her hand for so long now. Naomi, Naomi, please say something, Naomi. Naomi, Naomi, Naomi.
Is Naomi here?
Yeah, she's here. I think she mute she has muted her mic. Let me unmute. Naomi, Naomi, Naomi. Yeah, access her. Naomi, please say something. Please, can you unmute your mic? Naomi. Okay,
Yes, I'm here.
you're welcome.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, like during the choir rehearsals, oftentimes the chorister would ask us to draw our voices from the stomach and not from the chest. And during your presentation, you touched something about it, but not from the perspective of drawing voices from the stomach. Now, how important is it? Like, how is it different? That's my question.
Okay. How is what's different? So the voice, you mean the different places from which you sing? So I mean
Different places from where you draw your voice from. Is it how different is it that how is it different when you draw your voice
how
from
to
the stomach and when you just sing from your chest or your head? Like they put an emphasis when drawing your voice from your stomach. You have to draw it from the diaphragm to below there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how is
Okay.
it different from when you say that the voice can be drawn from your chest?
Yeah.
Something like that.
So,
Yes.
so it differs according to what you're singing. So remember, we covered that particular topic in the tone section. So depending on the kind of song that you're singing, for example, if you're singing classical music, that genre works best for its technicality when you use your tone, your voice from your diaphragm, which means that you do more breathing than you would if you are doing chest singing, for example, right? Because when you sing from your diaphragm, um, your voice becomes less. It becomes slightly darker, right? So it doesn't stick out. Whereas when you sing with your chest, you use your chest singing when you have to project, when you have to do a really high note, say for example, depending on the song, also like a gospel song, where you have to do a middle C, full voice, and that's where you use your chest voice, right? Because you want to achieve a more resonant sound. And you use your chest voice when you sing like jazz stuff, for example. And then your head voice is when you want to sing high but soft. Because if you want to sing high but soft, you cannot use your chest voice, your natural voice, because then your voice is gonna sound screechy. It will sound like ah, instead of ah, right? It's soft, and I use my head voice. So it always depends on what it is that you want to achieve from a sound perspective. So the different places where you sing can be defined by what it is that you're doing. You can even use different voices in one song. You can start the song with the voice from your stomach, and then move on, and the Aeolians do this very well. Then you move on, and then you go to your chest voice. Maybe let's say the song goes to a climax and it needs you to shout. Then you use your chest voice, and then right at the end, the song becomes soft, but it's high. Then there, you use your head voice. So it's those things can be used interchangeably. None is better than the other. So it's not like this one is better than the other. They all have a place in singing. I hope that answers your question. Naomi?
Yes, in common.
Yeah. What does in common mean?
Thank you.
Oh, interesting. Because in Zulu, inkomo is a cow.
Sorry, I just
I kept
needed
seeing this word
somebody.
inkomo. I'm like, yeah.
Hey.
So yeah, that's very interesting.
Another question, please. Anyone want to ask another question? If there is none, I think we are done for today. And
Thank you, guys.
Isabella, do you have any question? Any question?
No. So no, that was my question. I just wanted to understand more about the culture of singing, and I think you answered it. Both of you answered it very well. When you spoke
Okay.
about. Yeah, I think yeah.
Okay. Guys, thank you. It was nice having you guys, and thank you, Mr. Sabelo, for being with us. I really appreciate for your time and everything that you have shared with us. I hope this is only the beginning right? Hopefully,
Yes, absolutely.
keep on sharing a lot and a lot. And
Yes.
I really appreciate for what you've done for us, guys. It was nice having you around. Yeah, someone has already. Anyway,
Oh,
Sabelo,
yeah. I mean,
I have my cousin. He is in South Africa. He's studying there.
yes.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think it's the one who asked you, well, where are you located at? I hope so. After this, I'm
I mean,
going to send you his
Johannesburg.
number. Yeah, so that you
Okay.
can locate him. Yeah,
Where is he studying?
and I think you'll tell you a lot once.
And
I'll send
Vince.
you his number.
Okay. Yeah, but I stay in Johannesburg.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so
Okay.
much, ladies and gentlemen. It was
Cool.
great chatting
Thank
to
you.
you. Enjoy your
Thank you
evening.
so much. Okay,
Sabelo,
you
Yes.
guys are.
Tanzania, though, when travel resumes.
Eh?
We have a comment here, Sabelo. This
Oh, yeah.
is Elder Mwizarubi Mafuele. Thanks for the good presentation. May God bless you. That is
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you,
comment.
Elder.
Yeah. So it was nice having you, and have a
Thanks,
nice
Quentin,
evening.
for organizing this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're warmly welcome.
All
Thank
right.
you for.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Yeah, Jamani, it was nice having you.